I'd like to talk about why women can't seem to lose belly fat after menopause. I'm not just going to talk about that, I'm also going to talk about what to do about it as well. So, what is going on with this menopause thing? Well, all these changes all stem because of this one change that happens in the body. The ovaries go in retirement. They're no longer going to be producing or releasing eggs. Now, the ovary doesn't just make eggs, it also makes hormones. So, what's going to happen as we go through menopause is we're not going to have the eggs, we're not going to have the quantity of hormones. But normally, what's supposed to happen is the adrenal glands, which are the backup, are supposed to kick in. The adrenal glands make all of the hormones that the ovaries make. And if the adrenal glands are strong and stable going into menopause, usually there's very little symptoms, if any at all. So it's not really normal to have hot flashes. It's not normal to have any symptoms going through menopause unless there's a problem with the adrenal glands. But there's a bit more to this, okay? So, yes, it's true that estrogen drops, but you're also going to get a more significant drop in progesterone. So, the ratios of estrogen progesterone, it actually can make it appear that you have estrogen dominance, okay, which is not really true. It's just the ratios of estrogen to progesterone. And some women start going on hormone replacement therapy. The problem with that is it comes with a lot of side effects, okay, and complications. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I want to focus on another thing that happens in the body that gives you a solution to handling this entire problem. Because naturally, the adrenals are supposed to take over and compensate for the missing hormones. And no, this is not a mistake in nature. It all is supposed to work very perfectly. So in the adrenals, we have several things going on. We do have an increase in cortisol. That's the stress hormone. This could explain why through menopause, a woman might feel anxiety, excessive nervousness, difficulty sleeping, maybe agitated, and also an overall low tolerance to stress. That has a lot to do with um, this part of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system. And that's really what I want to focus on in this video. So, the autonomic nervous system is basically adapting your body to the environment. Your body is constantly adapting to temperature, different environments. And one part of the nervous system called the sympathetic, which is the flight or fight, is increasing certain things to adapt to the stress. So let's say, for example, you exercise, right? You need higher pulse rate, you need higher blood pressure to compensate for the blood flow. And then right when you stop that exercise, you have another system that kicks in called the parasympathetic. And that system is all about calming things down and bringing things back to normal. So it's really important to have this balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. What's interesting about menopause is after menopause, a woman is usually left with a higher sympathetic nervous system and a much lower parasympathetic nervous system. And if they don't know this going into menopause, they might focus more on the estrogen problem, or maybe they might just start to exercise to really get rid of that belly fat that they're concerned about, right? And then they might find, wow, it's not working. It's even getting worse in some cases. And so they go to one doctor after the next trying to figure this problem out. So the very important thing I want to teach you right now is about focusing more on the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. So that's your recovery system. That is the system that influences your sleep and your ability to recover. And all the fat burning occurs in this recovery phase. If you're too high in the sympathetic and you don't have enough recovery, then you're not going to lose this midsection no matter what you do. And so there's a lot of emphasis on exercise. Okay. Now, exercise stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, but it does not stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. And so, what I'm going to recommend is you shift gears and you start to exercise your parasympathetic. It would be like taking water and putting out a fire. It calms the sympathetic, and that's going to help you reduce cortisol. It's going to help you sleep. It's going to help you have a midsection that's flat. And so, how do we train this parasympathetic nervous system? Well, that system is not passive, it's active. In other words, it is actively working to calm you down. It's actively working to reset and bring you back to homeostasis, which is kind of like a normal balance internally. So, I guess a good way to explain this is that let's say right now you run outside and you run up a hill really fast, okay? And as you run up the hill, the sympathetic nervous system kicks in there and it's pushing up your pulse rate really, really high. You get your blood pressure really high, and you get at the top of the hill and you're huffing and puffing, and you are at the peak of your sympathetic nervous system. As soon as you stop, okay, and you do nothing, that parasympathetic kicks in actively. It's kind of like a wave that is pushing things down. It's pushing your pulse rate down. It's an active force that is trying to recover you, okay? And all you have to do is do nothing and let it do its job. And so if you were just to wait until your pulse rate is all the way back to normal, you would strengthen your parasympathetic. But who does that? What do people do when they work out? They go work out, they get their pulse rate really high, they let it come down a little bit, they rest maybe 30 seconds, if that, and they do it right back. They start exercising. And right there, you are failing to exercise that recovery system. You are developing and training the sympathetic to be really, really strong, but without enough recovery. And so over time, you lose the strength and capacity to recover. And so your body is ending up just producing cortisol that's creating more belly fat. It has a hard time sleeping. So I wanted to make a big deal about this video to emphasize this one simple point that if you really understand it, you can apply it to a lot of different things. You need to rest a lot longer between your reps and sets of exercise, as well as days of exercise. So if you were to do a certain set of, let's say, 10 reps or a certain time period of exercise, what you'd want to do is completely stop and wait for your pulse rate to come all the way down, okay, before you start another one of those cycles. The same thing goes with your entire workout. Through a given week, you have to make sure you don't overtrain. You want to make sure when you exercise, you give your body a chance to completely recover and reset. And what you're doing when you're recovering is you are strengthening your parasympathetic nervous system. I tell you, this might sound like a very insignificant, subtle thing, but in practice, it was very, very successful. I've had people that I've taken them off of working out 3 times a week and put them on a workout that's just once a week. And then they finally start losing weight. Now, on the flip side, it doesn't mean you should only focus on the recovery and do nothing and sleeping all day, because it takes this exercise intensity and this stress to make it all work out. Now, the worst type of exercise you could do for your belly is any type of sustained exercise. Now, I'm not talking about like walking or hiking. I'm talking about jogging or running or doing marathons or long distance. Anything sustained of a moderate pulse rate is really bad for cortisol, and it's bad for the parasympathetic because of this one principle of waves. Everything in nature is on a wave. You have these circadian rhythms of hormones, sleep cycles. Your heart is on a wave. It comes up and down, it contracts and relaxes. And so this is why like high intensity interval training is very, very good for so many things, because you're doing this short, high intense exercise with lots of rest. So here are some things to focus on. Start doing short types of exercise with lots of rest. Don't overtrain. Don't train over soreness. Focus on getting more sleep. And by doing this, it's automatically going to improve your sleeping because you're going to be improving the parasympathetic. Certain types of body work, whether it's chiropractic, massage, physical therapy, is all going to help. Omega-3 fatty acids can help as well. Also, the precursor to all of these hormones, it's called DHEA. Really good supplement to take, especially through menopause. But if you're female, I would highly recommend you don't take a lot of it. Just take what's recommended on the bottle, because if you take too much, it can start to, increase more testosterone, which you might not want that. It's very important to go on low carb intermittent fasting, because when you do that, you automatically reduce the sympathetic nervous system and you increase the parasympathetics. Some really key nutrients to focus on: magnesium, choline, vitamin B1. Vitamin D is also important too. Certain herbs can be helpful that are adaptogens. Lemon balm, a passion flower, and ashwagandha are really good. So, in summary, the parasympathetic nervous system restores the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight mechanism. Now, because of the censoring and the suppressing of the algorithms on YouTube, it's becoming more difficult to find my content. And there's a lot of content that I cannot put on YouTube, unfortunately. So to make sure you have full access of all my information, go to drberg.com and subscribe to my newsletter by clicking the link down below in the description. I will see you on the other side. If you have not seen my stress webinar that gives you additional techniques, I put it up right here. Check it out.